Hello Internet, your friendly neighborhood gaming machine here, and today I'm going to be reviewing two games for everyone. They're based around a gaming franchise that I've grown up with since I believe it was when PlayStation came out. So, the Resident Evil franchise. We recently had gotten a teaser demo for Resident Evil 7. It was interesting. I mean, it wasn't a bad teaser demo. But I'm not here to talk about that. I'm here to talk about two games of old school proportions. These two games are not for modern typed consoles of that era. This wasn't for the PlayStation. This is for NES and Game Boy Color. Now I bet you're wondering, what's Resident Evil Biohazard have to do with NES and Game Boy? Well, I found two ROMs recently. One of them has actually been converted into an actual game, even though it's an unfinished game. It can actually be found on Etsy.com if you look hard enough. But this other one is an NES ROM, and I'm going to show you some gameplay from both of these. Now, the first game I'm going to be showing you is going to be Biohazard for the NES. And in the comments below, before I even start, if anybody wants me to play these games for Onyx the Game Machine Plays, but with muted audio, which you'll soon find out in a little while, let me know in the comments below if that's something that you would want to request. So, without further ado, let me load in this ROM and we'll get started on Biohazard for the NES. Oh god, that music just startled me, and it's a little bit annoying as well. Anyways, Biohazard, this game that you see here, is what you would call an NES or Famicom pirate game. And it was made by Wakescene in 2003, and it's based off of Resident Evil 1 for the PlayStation. The plot is basically the same, except you only play as Jill, and the game is in Chinese. Now, this game is actually impressive in its own way, and I'm going to tell you why. As you can see, the beginning of the game brings the same type of introduction as Resident Evil 1 did, even though Resident Evil 1 for PlayStation had it as a video, but in this version, it's been adapted to sprites and some of its poorly drawn pictures. On the title screen as well, you will see that it's possible to start a new game and load a save game from 4 slots available for saving. As in most games from Wakescene from my research, the sounds of the games are annoying and doesn't have anything related with the game it's portraying, in this case Resident Evil. The menu can be accessed by pushing start, and it's perfectly functional. After getting a map button on the menu will become available. To save the game, basically you just grab the ink ribbon and go to the typewriter. That's how you save your game. The battle system, I've noticed, is very similar to Resident Evil Gaiden, and I think that's rather bad in my case. There are 2 ROMs, though, that are available. I just so happen to get the one that doesn't freeze, but I think that was just me being lucky. But basically, there's 2 ROMs that are available. One of them freezes and makes the game almost impossible to play, period. And the second one, it doesn't freeze and it works only in selected emulators. Also, if you get lucky and one day find the original cartridge, it doesn't have as many bugs and the gameplay is completely viable. Also, a zapper or generic pistol can be used to shoot enemies during the battle screen. I found that out. But here's where things get kind of weird. Is seeing how a lot of this is based off of Game Boy Color type of sprites and things of that nature. For this to be put on an NES or Famicom cartridge, it's actually pretty remarkable. Now, it's not the best. It is bad. Okay, I know this game is bad. I've played this game. And like I said, I'll play this game for my channel if anybody requests it. However, I am going to be muting the music, and I may just put commentary over it. But here's another weird thing, though. Unlike the original game, this port actually removes the Black Widow and Giant Snake boss battles. However, one boss battle that is still in the game is the Plant 42. But, that's really all there is to say about Biohazard for the NES. I'm going to show a little bit more of the gameplay so people can get a good look at it. And then we're going to be switching to Resident Evil for the Game Boy Color. So continue watching a little bit more footage and I will jump cut to the Game Boy Color game Resident Evil. Now, this is the Game Boy Color Resident Evil, and it was, I guess you could call, a risky attempt to port a very popular game to a portable system. Capcom actually announced this port around 1999, but the release date was pushed into the year 2000 before the game was eventually canceled and replaced with the dreaded Resident Evil Gaiden. In 2012, though, two prototype builds were released. One was about 90% complete, and it had some small bugs in it. And then one earlier was in development with only Chris's storyline available. Also, zombies apparently kneel when they die in either version, as basically the zombie death sprites were part of the last 10% to be programmed when Capcom decided to cancel the game. Now, there really isn't much else to really talk about when it comes to this game, because basically it was supposed to be a portable, mirrored copy of Resident Evil 1, but was only 90% complete. As you will notice, though, there is going to be bottom, like, lettering and numbers that would be at the bottom of the screen when you play. Basically, that's the debugging features. Basically, the debug is enabled by default. In this build, though, like I said, it was 90% complete. They never removed the debugging feature. But two sets of numbers show up on the bottom of the screen during blank text screens, such as, for example, they have escaped into the mansion where they thought it was safe. During gameplay, there are numbers at the bottom of the screen. What do they mean? Well, they show your position on the map, although they disappear when selecting something from the item menu. This is a game that is just very, very interesting, and I'm not going to say that it's bad. It's not really bad, but they could have done better. I would have rather had this be released than Gaiden, because Resident Evil Gaiden is considered one of the worst Resident Evil games ever created, and I would have rather had this than Gaiden, no matter if it had weird problems with it or not. But I'm going to show a little bit more footage of this game, and I will be ending this review. So let me know in the comments below what you think of Biohazard for the NES and Resident Evil for the Game Boy Color. Let me know your thoughts on it, and click the like on this video if you enjoyed, and I will see everyone next time.